Hi everyone. Whilst everyone's rolling in, we'll wait for a few minutes before we start, but welcome. Lovely to virtually see you all. Yeah, we'll just wait a minute before we start. So welcome everyone. We'll roll in. It's comfy. Thank you. So hello everyone, good morning, good evening and good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Bachelor's of Science Marketing program with Coursera. Joining me today is my fellow enrollment counsellor Divya, who will be answering your questions, and our marketing coordinator as well, Naomi, who will be behind the scenes. But let me introduce myself. My name is Nisha. I'm the enrollment counselor here at Coursera, and I want to talk to you a bit more about the webinar that we'll be hosting today regarding the Bachelor's of Marketing degree. So in today's webinar, we have a very fun-packed agenda. We'll be looking at the general overview of the Bachelor's. We'll also be looking at the history of the university. We'll look at the study format and the Coursera platform. So for those of you who haven't used it before, we'll talk a bit more about that detail. We'll also go through the admissions requirements, the application process and the tuition fees, because I know a few of you are looking to apply, which is very exciting. We'll look at the degree recognition and the graduation. So like I said, it's a really fun-packed agenda. There's a lot we're going to cover today. But of course, whilst you're going through the webinar, do feel free to drop in your questions into the Q&A chat box. My colleague Divya will be answering those questions. Anything that's remaining left over, then I will answer those through with the live Q&A session. So I'm looking forward to all of your questions. Of course, so before we begin, I just want to let you know we do have a video on the next slide that I'm really excited to show you all. So let's get started on that. Amazing. So thank you. So I want to talk to you a bit more about who you'll be studying with. So the University of London was founded in 1836 and is one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in the United Kingdom. So there are over 50,000 students in over 180 plus countries studying 100 plus kind of degrees. And the program is led by academics from the Royal Holloway of School of Business and Management. So Royal Holloway is one of the 17 members of the federal members of the University of London. So there are different universities that all fall under this University of London title, if you were wondering who they are. So Royal Holloway is ranked 30 universities in the UK and has top 350 universities in the world for world-class research, which is really impressive. This program has been designed to encourage intellectual curiosity. So whether you're already working within the field of marketing or you're wanting to get a new opportunity in marketing, this degree program would really be suited for someone such as yourself. So with that being said, if you're looking to work for an international company or you're really just craving the opportunity to work remote or be mobile in your career, you will learn so much from this program and this bachelor's degree. So hopefully it should cover a lot of topics that should help further your career or get you into the career of marketing itself. And you'll walk away with an internationally, global recognized degree from, Royal Holloway of London, and you will be working and speaking with students from all over the world, which is an impressive and great factor for the program. Just to let you know, there are 2 cohorts every year, April and October. The next cohort that we have is for October 9th, 2023. Applications are now open and they do close on September the 11th. So if you are interested, I would recommend that you apply today. Let's go on to the next slide. Right, we're going to talk about studying online. And we'll go through a bit more information. If we go on to the next slide, I'll talk to you a bit more about how it works. So this program is in partnership with Coursera. Coursera is the platform that you will be using to study the program, but all of your modules, all your teaching will be from Royal Holloway, University of London. So I'm sure most of you are already have some experience with Coursera, but for those of you who don't worry. It's really easy to figure it out and I will walk you through it. I'll walk you through the main points, and obviously, please do feel free to ask questions in the Q&A chat box. My colleague Divya will be able to answer those, and anything that's left, I'll happily answer those myself. But essentially, this bachelor's degree in marketing is delivered entirely online through the Coursera platform. You'll be able to access all the materials you need for your studies at any time, so long as you have an internet access, a computer, or a laptop. So that means you can study this program anywhere you want, anywhere in the world, which is, a very great, impressive factor. The Bachelor's in Marketing degree can be completed in 3 to 6 years. Each module is studied over 22 weeks, which is roughly 6 months. And one module requires an average of 10 to 12 hours of directed learning per week, and it's self-paced, so you can study in the mornings, the evenings, the weekends. Great for students who are working full-time or have other commitments outside of studying. Modules run once a year and research opportunities will be available for students. So don't worry if you don't pass, you can do a reset for that. You can choose how many modules to study. I think it's up to a maximum of 2 new modules for the program, or 3, including resets and repeats, of course. The time commitment will vary from student to student, but as a guide, you should allow up to 300 hours for each module to be studied through a 22-week study session, so roughly 6 months. With 2 modules per session, you will be able to complete the degree in 3 years. That means you will be studying 60 credits in each session. That equates to approximately 600 hours. Over the 22 weeks of each session, you'll need to dedicate for 2 modules around 24 to 30 hours per week of studying. You'll also need to regularly check your university student portal. The student portal is a gateway for you to find all the additional learning resources. There you'll find the most up-to-date information about your registration dates, your exam dates, as well as all these great resources from University of London to support your development, such as wellbeing material, career development exercises, and student support services, which is really great. So if we go on to the next slide, I'm going to give you a bit of a walkthrough as to how it will look like. Thank you. So to help you better understand the learning process, and how it works on the Coursera platform, let me walk you through a sample course from the University of London. So the program is designed to fit a student's personal schedule. Like we said, this is great for students who are working full-time, and allows you to study at your own pace and vary your course load every term. Learners can access their courses from anywhere by downloading them onto their mobile device, study offline whenever and wherever they choose, and no live attendance is required. So if you're anything like me and you're always on the run, you can have it on your mobile and you can watch your pre-recorded video lectures whilst you're going to work or when you're coming back. So it kind of gives you that freedom, really. Once you log into the Coursera platform, you will see the courses you registered for on your dashboard. You'll notice that your coursework is broken down into weeks. Each week will have a pre-recorded video lecture, quizzes, and interactive activities. You can watch these at any given time, like I said, morning, evening, or weekends, whatever's best for you. There is a final exam at the end of a module. All coursework is self-paced except for midterms and final exams. You can find your deadlines in the course syllabus that will be handed to you by your teachers at the beginning of the semester, so you have plenty of advance in knowing of when they'll be due. But just to give you an understanding as well, as this is a global degree, a lot of you may be thinking, well, how do I interact with my fellow peers? How do I speak to people? Students can collaborate on group projects using Zoom and Slack. If you're not sure what Slack or Zoom are, Slack is a cloud-based instant messaging system, and Zoom is a video conferencing software, so you can interact with your peers from all over the world. You do have online tutors helping you, and they do hold live tutorial webinars to provide support and guidance throughout each study session. Don't worry though, if you can't attend it, they will be recorded for you to watch back as well. And just to also give you a tip, there is an online library provided to you, which will give you a range of full text, multidisciplinary databases where journal articles, ebooks, reports can be found for you. So, which is always a plus. Let's go on to the next slide, shall we? Thanks. So let's look into how assessments for the Bachelor's of Marketing program work. So the minimum duration of the program is 3 years, as mentioned. It's the standard length of a bachelor's degree in the United Kingdom. But since this degree is flexible, you can vary your workload. The University of London Royal Holloway does give you up to 6 years to complete all the required modules at your own pace. So you will have hard deadlines. So just to let you know, although it's self-paced and you can go at your own time, you do have hard deadlines for some assessments and for your exams. You can't change those. If there is a problem and you need to relate to your teachers, do let them know in advance and inform them. But usually that's the way it should work. I do want to mention as well that all assessments and exams are online, so you're not required to come to campus. This is an online degree. Each module of the marketing program is assessed by 2 elements of assessment. The first one comprises of 4 multiple choice question tests taken at 5 weekly intervals throughout the 22 weeks. They will contribute about 30% towards your final grade. The remaining 70% of your grade will come from the assessment element, which is usually a 3,000 word final online examination held at the end of the session. So just to give you an understanding, exams are always at the end of a module, which will be around end of September, end of March. So it gives you plenty of time to take that time off work, book it ahead. Also, as I mentioned, there is some group work within the modules, which is great. You need to work asynchronously with your peers, so do plan for that as well. And of course, different time zones, so chat to your peers and say what time's best, because obviously you don't want to interrupt them if they're doing something. Same way it goes for you. You will receive plenty of support within the program. The virtual learning environment on the Coursera platform is where you'll find all your lessons, your activities, your assignments, and additional study resources. So you'll have the opportunity to join online tutors with the University of London professors who will provide you support and guidance throughout each study session. So just because you're doing the degree program online doesn't mean that you won't get the support like you would if you were on campus. So hopefully that should assure a few students of that. Just to let you know, these tutorials are not mandatory to attend. As I mentioned, you can watch them back. They are recorded, which is always great for students who are working and having other personal commitments to juggle. But essentially, if you can join, I'd highly encourage you to do so, because each tutor will have their own group of students to make sure you're fully supported in this program. So for any non-academic inquiries that you may have, I would recommend you reach out to your online student support team, who will guide and advise you to make sure that they help you fit your studies in. Because of course, sometimes you need support outside of your academic area, and the University of London will have your back for that. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay, great. So we've given, some information regarding about what studying online is like. Now let's look into the general admissions requirements and the documents you need to submit your application. Okay, so in order to qualify for the program and the application, you have to be age 17 or plus in order to apply for the program. If you are older than that by September the 25th, which is the registration deadline, you can put the application forward. The University of London accepts qualifications from all over the world. So of course, this is a global program. You may have not studied within the UK framework. So if you are stuck and you don't know what your qualification is, I'd recommend checking out the qualifications for entrance website. Divya is going to drop this into the chat box below. Thank you. So you can have a look and see what would be the equivalent. Please note that the University of London does accept many awards that are not listed on the website. So if you don't find it, don't panic, because there might be a non-listed school qualification, diploma, or professional award. Applications are now open, and the deadline for the application is September the 11th. So if you haven't applied already, apply as soon as you can. It can take the University of London up to 15 business days, that doesn't include weekends, to process your application. And the application does require a fee of £60, which is non-refundable. To complete your application, you will need the following documents. As you can see on the screen, you will need a scanned copy of your personal ID. So anything like a birth certificate, driver's license, or even your passport would be great. Make sure it's a clear image, or if not, you can take a scanned copy, would be even better. You will also need to make sure you put your scanned copy of your official academic transcripts. Now, if they're not in English, you will need a translation copy as well of the English. You can get this from a notified translator. It doesn't need to be from an embassy. So long as it's signed and stamped, the University of London can accept this. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to your enrollment counsellor. We can go through that with you. The supporting statement is usually around 100 to 250 words, which is the maximum. In this, I would usually write about why you're interested in the program, why you think you'd be a good fit, really talk about your career, talk about your highlights, talk about the academic part. The University of London want to know you, so it's not a trick question. They just want to understand a bit more about you, because of course, this is your time to shine. So, write that personal statement up. It's about a paragraph long, so make sure it's short and punchy and you put it across. I would also like to say as well, you need to put a resume or a CV forward. So with your job responsibilities, the most up to date, put that down. And I'd also like to say, if your first language is not English, or you need to provide an English language certificate, you can do so. I believe Divya will be dropping this into the chat box below to see what the University of London does accept. It can be a Duolingo, it can be an IELTS, it can be a TOEFL. They do accept a wide range. But if you don't want to do an English language test, just to let you know, if you've worked in English for the past 18 months, if your company can provide a letter basically stating this on a company headed letter, signed and stamped by your manager or HR, that can also be sufficient as well. Because of course, we understand that some students might be working in English on a day-to-day basis. So any more questions on that, do reach out to your enrollment counsellor. We can walk you through that, but it's just as a backup if needed. But yeah, let's go on to the next slide to show you what happens after you've submitted. Okay, great. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of how it looks like once you've submitted your application. So usually we would recommend to speak to an enrollment counsellor so we can answer your questions and queries, and we're here to help assist you. You can start your application. The applications are open. They'll close on September the 11th. I would recommend you pick standard or performance, but if you don't know which route to go down, you can always apply through standard and the University of London will make that decision for you. But if you do want to talk about it in detail, book an appointment with an enrollment counsellor. We'll give you the details at the end of the webinar, and you can go through those questions. We're here to help you, of course. Also, make sure you prepare all your documents. You want to make sure you're putting all the documents forward. Anything that you don't, the University of London will request this from you. So to make sure that you get that result within the 15-day, don't delay, make sure you put all your documents forward, put them all directly. If there is a problem going on, reach out to the University of London or to one of us, and we can help assist you with that. Make sure to submit your application before the 11th of September. Of course, this is how long we have. If you do have any questions or queries, reach out to one of us. It does take up to 15 days. So don't worry if you don't hear back. You can reach out to the University of London to see what's going on. Weekends aren't included in this. So don't worry if you haven't heard back within the 15 days, because it might be that it's gone over the weekends as well. And then once you get accepted, fingers crossed, you receive your offer, you'll then be ready to register for your modules. So let's talk about how that would look like from a student perspective. So if we go on to the next slide, we'll be talking about registering for modules. Great. So the registering for modules part, for those of you who have either already been accepted, or you may haven't had an old offer letter and you wanted to go forward, or for students who hopefully will get accepted, let's talk about registration. So when you're ready to register for your modules, the deadline, by the way, is September the 25th. You will log into your student portal using the login details that the University of London have emailed you. So you'll get usually an offer letter via email, and then a separate email basically giving you your user details. Make sure you get those. Sometimes it can land in junk, so make sure you check your spam folder. Don't do a me. But once you've logged into your student portal, you click register now, and you'll be able to see which modules are offered in this session, and you can register. So like I mentioned earlier, you can study up to 2 new modules offered in this session. In addition, you can resit any assessments or repeat modules if necessary. It is strongly recommended by the university that you take foundations of quantitative methods for sustainable organizations and interpreting management, market, and consumption during your first term. To complete your registration, you need to pay for your modules. The total cost of the program is depending on your location. Divya will drop this into the chat box below so you can see and check. But if the country band is band A, you will pay $14,088. For band B, you pay $18,868. Also, I would like you to know that you don't have to pay the fees straight away. You can do a pay-as-you-go for each module you take, so the fees will just be divided between the years of studies. But once you've registered and paid for your modules, you'll receive your university email address, invite to link your Coursera account to the degree program. It's really important that you do that. If you don't have a Coursera account already, it will just prompt you to make one, which is fab. You can just start doing that. There you'll see an orientation course that you'll need to complete before the classes begin. I'd highly recommend doing the orientation course. It will have such valuable information for you regarding the program, a handbook. And of course, you want to make sure that you're prepared before you start. So go through this. Make sure you have all the information ready before the classes start on October 9th. You want to make sure that you know exactly what you need to do. And if you don't, that you can reach out to someone at the University of London, and they'll talk you through that as well. But we're also here to help you. So it will go over program policies, how to navigate Coursera, communication channels to talk to your peers as well, how I mentioned about Slack and Zoom. You should allow up to 6 hours to complete the course, the orientation course. But once you've completed that, you'll receive access to your modules once the teaching begins on October 9th, which is great. So highly recommend you do the orientation course. If you don't get access, do let your enrollment counsellor know. We can look into that for you, but it should be, pretty much immediate as soon as you register and pay for your modules. It can take sometimes up to 24 to 48 hours if needed. But once you have access to all your studying materials at the start of the session, except for some assessments and your exams. So don't worry if you don't get that. Usually your teacher will give you a course syllabus at the beginning to tell you when your exams and coursework is due in for. But yeah, let's go on to the next slide where I'm going to talk to you a bit more about the tuition fees. So let's talk about the total indicative cost for the entire program. So it can, like I said, for Band A students, it could be £14,135. For Band B, it's £18,195. Depending on your geographical location, Band A or Band B. Please note, tuition is based on where you live. So if you are, someone of a nationality of Band B, but you're now living in Band A, you will just pay Band A prices. Vice versa, if you're from Band A, but now living in Band B. Reason being, it's more about where you are residing rather than the nationality. These totals will include the application fee and the annual fee increase as well. On average, the University of London fees incur a 5% year-on increase, so just keep that in mind. But yes, you can also do pay-as-you-go. Band A countries by module can do 1,113. Band B countries by module can do 1,482. There is also a £60 application fee, which is non-refundable and non-transferable. So do remember that. That will be prompted to you once you want to submit your application, or will ask you to do so. It will be through Flywire. So just to give you an understanding. A lot of learners do ask about how can you pay your fees. So you can do this either online through Flywire, debit card, credit card. You do that just by logging into the student portal, registering for the modules that you wish to, and then you pay. It will prompt you to go onto the payment page, and you can do so. However, I know a lot of students don't wish to pay online, which is absolutely okay. You can pay offline. You can do that through Western Union Quick Pay. You can do Sterling Bankers Draft, or you can even do a check. So really down to you. Have a think what would be best for you, because obviously you'll be the ones paying throughout the time of your degree. So pick one that would be best suited for you. And just to also let you know, the University of London does offer a number of scholarships and bursaries for students studying. The best way for you to check is that Divya will be dropping this into the chat box below. You can click on the link and you can go through and see if there's anything available for you. And then if there is, you can just let an enrollment counsellor know, and that they can help you go through any stages, of course. But please note that you do need an offer before you apply for the scholarship or bursary, whichever one that you might be eligible for. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Okay, we're going to talk about the degree and the career paths you can take if you were to do this, which is really exciting. So let's go on to the next slide about this. So the bachelor's degree in marketing is a standard bachelor's degree in the UK. The University of London holds standards of this program to the same expectations as any other UK marketing degree. The marketing level and objective are aligned with the UK benchmarks. So your degree certificate, when you graduate, it doesn't state this is an online degree. It doesn't state that it's through Coursera. It would just say University of London, Royal Holloway, Bachelor's of Science in Marketing. So hopefully that can assure a few students that it won't state this is an online degree at all. The University of London understand that this is UK degree is typically accepted for entering a master's program. So it's a UK level 6 qualification, meaning that if you want to do a level 7, which is a master's degree, you can go ahead and do so. However, I know some countries' education systems are structured differently, so I'd recommend contacting the admissions department of the specific university that you want to do your master's degree in, just to double check what their requirements are, if they have any, and to see what grades you'll need to achieve, because of course, master's degrees will be different for each university that you apply for. So if you require any documents for your master's application, you can always contact the University of London for assistance, and they will be more than happy to help. But if you ever want to do a master's degree with the University of London, have a think about that. I think that might be a good idea too. Let's talk about the next slide, shall we? Great. So there's many different possibilities of careers for once you graduate. You can see the examples on the slide here. You can become a brand ambassador, creative manager. You know, you can do a marketing-led degree and go into this field as well. If you're already in this field and you want to kind of work your way up into something, this would also be a really good fit for you. You can see some of the samples as I've just mentioned, but generally with credentials from a globally recognized institution such as the University of London, you will discover in-demand marketing opportunities at international companies, and you'll be able to fit into these roles and collaborate across borders. After studying this program, it should give you a very good understanding and mindset of marketing, which will allow you to bring that expertise into job roles. And just to give you an idea of the kind of things that graduates have gone on to, especially from on campus, they've worked for, you know, companies like Versace, Barclays, and Nissan, Deloitte, Goldman Sachs. So these are impressive companies to work for, and this is some of the ones that the on-campus students have gone on to study. So as a graduate of this program, you will gain a really good understanding about marketing, organizations and their functions, and to be able to have that ability to, you know, really analyze real life problems facing actual businesses. So it's not just going to be theory, you're going to be able to learn it in practice and then implement it in work. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty good transferable skill for me. Upon your graduation as well, you will also become part of your university alumni network. So that will unite University of London's alumni worldwide. So you can speak to, you know, alumni, you graduate within this, it will provide you with some great networking opportunities. And for career support, the university works really closely with the careers group, a university service, to offer a range of fantastic online resources to maximize your experience. I would really highly recommend students to speak to them. You don't need to do that after you graduate. You can even do it whilst you're in your program. So really implement this, use this great services that the University of London are offering. They also host great career webinars twice a week throughout the year. So also highly recommend that you join those, have a chat, network. You never know what could happen. So sky's the limit, as they say. But thank you so much for listening to all these slides. I love to go into the live Q&A session now. I can see we've got some great questions. I'm just going to go through them now. Okay. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys. I really love this. Okay. Let's go through this now. How can I book a meeting with the admissions counselor? Great question. So there is a QR code right now. You can just use your mobile phone. When you use your camera, it should come up with a link and you can book it in. Or Divya will be able to drop in the Chili Piper link that you can book a meeting with an enrollment counselor. Highly recommend chatting to one of us, and you'll be able to get all your answers and questions addressed, and we'll be able to help you. Is there a date for the next cohort in case I can't gather the documentations in time? Great question. So like I said, there are 2 cohorts every year, April and October. You have until September the 11th to apply. So, you know, if you've got the time, if you can get your documents in by then, recommend that you apply for the October session. But of course, I understand sometimes this happens, and, you know, is sometimes outside of your control. So don't worry, you can always go forward for April. I believe they'll probably open around December time. Historically, they usually have, but of course, you can just check the University of London's website, or you can just reach out to your enrollment counselor and we can help you. Okay, what happens if I live in Band A and move to Band B during my graduation? Okay, interesting. So the way it works is, if you are living in Band A for the majority of your degree, you would just pay from a Band A price. But if you move during your degree, say if you are doing your final year in a Band B country, you will just pay Band B prices. Reason being, University of London state that they will take into consideration where a student is residing rather than the nationality. You will need to provide the University of London with an updated address, make sure you let them know where you are so they can send your graduation results. Of course, you are, you know, invited to attend graduation, but if you can't, then don't worry, you can just get them posted to you. So more for your sake, just make sure you update the University of London with an updated postal address. But yes, if you do move within the time of your degree, then it will change the price of the course for you, because you'll just be paying from the band that you live in. As Divya had sent out the bands, you can just check which countries in band A, band B. Might be the case that you're still in a band A country. Okay. Is it possible to finish the program in less than 3 years? Unfortunately not. So usually a UK degree, the minimum is a 3-year. Unfortunately, you can't finish the degree in anything less than that. But you do have up to 6 years to complete. Sometimes it can be like that. But of course, you can chat with an enrollment counselor if you want to talk about that in more detail. But yes, you would have to finish the degree within minimum of 3 years. These are great questions, guys. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this. Okay. Okay. Will we have a University of London email as an alumni or a student? Yeah. So when you become a student for this program, you do get University of London email address. As soon as you register, pay, you start the program on October the 9th, you're ready and raring to go. You will get University of London a student ID, you'll get your email address. So yeah, you'll be able to use that. I think once you finish up to graduation, it can stop. But of course, during the time you are a student, you will have a University of London degree. You have a University of London email address, sorry to say, so you can utilize that as well. Okay. How many modules, exams are there in total? How many multiple choice assessments are there? Okay, great. So as we were mentioning before, exams are usually at the end of every module. It can be like a 3,000 word essay. Multiple choice question tests are within the module. And they will be equating to up to 30%. So, but your tutors will give you a course syllabus at the beginning so that you can kind of recognize this and go through it. So you have plenty of time to book that time off work, or if you do have a clash, because I know everyone's busy and they've got lives and they have all these big, exciting events. If something is clashing, do let the University of London know to give them warning and say, look, I can't set this exam at this time. But yeah, essentially, it is a 360 credit bachelor's degree as well. So it's 2 modules every semester for that. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's go through all of this. Right, I'm just going through a few more. We've got some great questions. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Okay. We've got a question here. Can I transfer some of my credits from prior studies? If I can, how do I do that? Great question. So University of London does recognize credits from all universities worldwide. In most cases, it's not automatic though. So you will need to apply for a recognition of prior learning. It's called a discretionary one. The process is usually that you do it within your application form, but if you don't, you can always submit an inquiry directly to the University of London to make sure that they can do this. It's a non-refundable fee of £125 per module. So whichever modules that you do, make sure that you put it forward. It has to be done within, the past few years. Make sure you put it forward, and it's, a comparable in content, really, of course. So make sure that when you do it, you can put it in your application pack or submit an inquiry directly to the University of London. But if you do want to transfer credits, good luck. Let us know how you get on, of course. Okay. We have a question about how to apply for scholarships. Yes, absolutely. So the University of London does offer a number of scholarships and bursaries for students. Best way to go about it is for you to check the university's website. I believe Divya has dropped it into the chat already, so you can just go through this. You do need to check if you're eligible for any of them. If you are, but you have a few questions, then you can speak to an enrollment counsellor and they can help assist you. But essentially, you need to make sure you have an offer before you apply for the scholarship and bursary. So you can just check your eligibility to make sure you meet the criteria, but I think that would be a really good idea to do so. Whew, these are great questions. Thank you so much. Let's go through this. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. How long does it take to complete an application? Now, of course, if you've got all your documents and you're ready and raring to go, you can start applying as soon as you want. Applications do close on September the 11th, as mentioned, but it should take you as little as 20 minutes, which is great. You just need to upload all your documents, like I mentioned before, which would be your resume, transcripts, translated copies if needed, that's signed and stamped, resume, personal statement of 100 to 250 words, personal ID, and if you need to put an English language certificate forward as well, you can also do that. But of course, as I mentioned, if you are working in English for the past 18 months with your company, you can also just put a letter from them forward and make sure it's on a company headed letter, signed and stamped by an official person from HR or from your manager as well, but that should be fine. Okay, I have a few more questions that I want to go through. How quickly can I get a response? This is a really good question because, of course, you're wanting to know what's happening. So it usually takes about 5 to 15 days, depending on how long it takes the University of London to look at your application, but it's roughly within that time frame. It does also depend on the route that you've applied for, standard of performance, and how close to the deadline is before you apply. So if you don't hear from the university within this time period, make sure you can contact either the University of London directly, or you can contact your enrollment counselor. We can look into this for you, but don't worry, I'm sure you'll hear back soon about this as well. Okay, so let's go through this. I have a few more questions. Okay, if my background lies outside of marketing, will that be held against me? Good question. I would want to let students know that there is no requirement for you to work or study marketing before you enter this program. It's a bachelor's degree, so you don't need any prior knowledge beforehand, and you don't need to have worked in this field as well, because of course some students want to be able to go into this field, get new opportunities, which would be great. So of course, totally understand why that would be a great question, but yeah, don't worry about it. You don't need any prior knowledge. Your work experience will be considered, and it is a benefit if you do have some marketing experience, but yeah, it's not mandatory per se. Okay, just a few more questions. That's a good question. So why is it 2 universities? Is it University of London or Royal Holloway? Okay, so as we were saying before, University of London is the administrative and degree awarding body. It has 17 federal members, with Royal Holloway being one of them. So essentially, it's like an umbrella term with that. So University of London has multiple different universities underneath it, so that when you wish to go study abroad, if you want to get a job maybe outside of the UK, you can say, look, I have studied at the University of London, and more people will recognize this. Of course, so it kind of holds its worth in that sense. But of course, Royal Holloway is the one who designs the curriculum. It is a very prestigious university. Like I said, it's been around since 1836. So, it's been around for longer than pretty much all of us here in the audience today, which is, very impressive that it's been going on. Okay, I'll give it a few more minutes to see if we get any more questions. Thank you so much, Divya, for answering all of these whilst we go along. Okay, where can I see the program's curriculum? So the University of London do have it on their website, but there is a program regulation handbook. Divya will be able to drop that to you in the chat box below. But if not, you can schedule time with an enrollment counselor and they can send it to you directly if you can't find it on the website. But yeah, it will go into a lot more detail about the program curriculum. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we've had. So if we go on to the next slide, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone that has listened to me throughout this webinar, asked all these brilliant questions. Just to remind you again, of course, if you wish to apply, I'd recommend doing so. This is a fantastic bachelor's degree by a recognizable, wonderful university with a great reputation. Application deadlines is September the 11th. Deadline to register is by September the 25th, and the classes will start on October 9th. We'll send out a recording of the webinar afterwards, so you will get this. But of course, if you want to schedule an appointment and if you have any further questions to speak to an enrollment counsellor, Divya will drop this into the chat box below. We'll give you a Chili Piper link so that you can book a meeting with one of us. But thank you so much for attending the webinar today. Once again, thank you so much. So that's it from me. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.